Well, welcome back. You know, we all know someone who is married only to find out that their partner isn't who he or she seemed to initially be. So how do you sift the jerks from the gems? Well, that's part 4 of our week-long series on finding love the second time around. And marriage and family therapist and author of the book Dating Game Secrets for Marrying a Good Man, Elisa Goodwin-Snell, says there are warning signs that we just need to know what they are so we can recognize them earlier than later. Welcome. This is about prevention and positive prevention.
Yes, yeah, that's the hope. I mean, the dream is that people identify this in 3 dates, not 3 months, 6 months, 9 years. You know what I mean?
Get it done early.
You recognize it early on, and it's not just about the extreme cases of physical abuse. It's about verbal abuse, emotional abuse. It's about all of those other kinds of abuse that you don't know which one you're going to get, but if you know what the warning signs are and you just stay away from those personalities and you get out of those relationships sooner, then you're better off.
The sooner the better. Well, it's interesting because you say we can categorize some pretty serious warning signs into 3 categories, and those are lack of empathy, lack of self-control, and lack of personal responsibility. We're going to talk about the specific behaviors that serve as warning signs, but why are these characteristics in the reverse form so important?
Well, I've been doing marriage counseling for about 14 years, and so I looked at the beginning, the middle, and end of all of these bad relationships, and what did they seem to have in common? And the common denominator is the person doesn't take responsibility, they don't admit that they're doing anything wrong, they blame, they shame, they don't have self-control, they have a lot of secretive behaviors, or they have a lot of raging or other kinds of inappropriate behaviors. And then the other is they don't see the other person's perspective. They're a very self-centered personality. And how do you identify those in 3 dates? I mean, what is it that the person's saying on the first phone call or in the first few dates that would be a good indication so you can get out of this sooner, not later?
And obviously, underlying tone here, you identify it early because the more you get into the relationship, the more involved you become, the harder it is, I think, to see those characteristics.
Well, and the abusive personality really has a way of weaving into your psychology and affecting your self-esteem very quickly, and you start to doubt yourself. And especially women are more vulnerable, I think, to doubting their judgment anyway. I mean, men do have that problem, but I think women are more inherently,
we second guess ourselves, don't we?
And so if it's in black and white and you see it and you follow the steps I recommend for the 3-date rule, you should be able to avoid this.
Okay, well, let's break it down into individual categories and talk about the specific warning signs that should send red flags. The first, signs he might lack empathy. What are we looking for here?
Well, you know, on the first few dates, it would be even just wanting to see you right away. I mean, if this is someone you met on the internet and he wants to see you that night and it's 11 o'clock at night and he wants to come to your home, big warning sign. If it's someone you just met and they want to dominate all of your time and attention right away, they call after 10 o'clock, that's just not normal. I mean, guys who have a good sense of boundaries and appropriate, you know, just kind of an appropriate sense of what's right or respectful, they're not going to do that kind of thing. So a guy who calls up at 1 o'clock in the morning or texts you at 2 in the morning, you know, immediately that shows that they don't have empathy, especially if they didn't ask first. You know, there's circumstances whether they might ask, but very few circumstances where somebody would ask that early.
And asking specifics early on, what you are doing, who you are with, kind of diving into those details. They should be asking those questions.
Exactly, and especially if they want to dominate all of your time and attention right away. I remember when I was dating a guy who wanted to see me that very day, and no matter how many times I said, well, you know, I'm not available today, he kept trying to say, well, what are you doing today? Well, why can't you? You know, and so when you set a boundary, they keep trying to find a way around it. That's a big warning sign. Those things seem like they're subtle and simple, but they really do mean something, and that's part of how we identify it early on, and we trust our gut. That's so important.
I can also see how that would be mistaken for flattery. I mean, he wants to see me.
And
this is a good thing.
They use flattery a lot. They use flattery a lot. There's a love-hate switch with those who don't really have empathy. They're very flattering, they're very adoring, but then when you look into their past and they talk about their past relationships, they have this very hateful, resentful side to their past relationships. They oftentimes don't have long-term relationships with family or friends, and they will often talk directly about the fact that they fear being abandoned and that you might hurt them. All of those are a sign of possible empathy issues and some self-control issues.
Okay, let's lead into that. A few warning signs that might lead into that self-control issue, signs that he might lack self-control. What are we looking for?
You know, if he gets angry, if he fluctuates very frequently, he wants all of your time and attention, if he plays the victim and when you say no, but especially if he talks, you know, very flatter, you know, kind of like he's proud of his out-of-control behaviors, you know, his adolescent experiences where he has a degree of pride in drinking to excess, using drugs, doing inappropriate behaviors. Bragging about it. And it's amazing how many people will brag about those kinds of things as if it makes them cool. Obviously, that's a sign of emotional immaturity. And that's what these 3 characteristics are all about, is somebody who is emotionally immature, not emotionally mature.
Okay, the third category we want to get into signs that this individual might lack personal responsibility. And this is a big one to identify early, I think.
It is. But you know, it's so easy to identify because they're always saying that someone else did something wrong. They're the victim, that they, you know, they don't know why they keep getting picked on. Everybody's out to get them. They use passive language, like they say someone should do something about this instead of I'm going to do something about this. They seem easily offended. They're the ultimate nice guy. You know, sometimes if it looks too good to be true and they seem too perfect, it's because they're hiding something. And that's another way of deflecting responsibility by looking so perfect. A good guy is going to say, you know, I've had some problems with this in the past and this is what I've done to correct it. Again, he's showing responsibility by what he's done to correct it. And this is something you need to observe over time. It's not just, you know, a simple, they make, their words and actions should match. Lots of people can give words, but if you're not seeing the actions over time, then they don't really show personal responsibility.
An interesting note, taking responsibility of their actions. You know, but we've all had someone call us after 10 o'clock, or we know someone who gets their feelings hurt easily. So at what point do you worry? I'm assuming taking a look at the big picture of the relationship is important.
If somebody's doing this very early on in contact with you, that's a sign that there's something not quite as healthy there. I mean, if I've got a friend who I've known for 3 years and they just had a crisis event and they call me at 2 in the morning, I'm going to take that phone call and I'm going to understand the situation. But if I've just met this person and they're texting me at 1 and 2 in the morning, that's probably a sign that they have some drug issues, because they're probably staying up late, they're losing a sense of time, and they're just not appropriately managing boundaries. So a lot of times you got to trust your gut.
Trust your gut and go with that instinct. Elisa, thank you so much. We've really just hit the tip of the iceberg, but we have a complete list of Elisa's rules for dating safety on our website at studio5.ksl.com. You can go there for more information and great tips anyone should review. Also, we'd like to give away 10 copies of Elisa's book. So if you send us an email with dating safety in the subject headline, we'll randomly select 10 winners and notify you by email. Really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
We'll go to Darren now in the kitchen.
Thank you.